Hello everybody, it's WJ here and welcome back to the Noord. Today we start with detailing the side of the Doelen that I built in episode 3. As this building is nowadays a museum with a standard exhibition about the history of the city and most museums have some form of a cafe, I decided to place a terrace here with some planters with flowers and a big tree surrounding them. I used these flower props and scaled them down with procedural objects to make them fit perfectly within the planter. Although these props have color variations, when turned into a procedural object, they only come with one color. But luckily, these flowers are orange, which really fits our Dutch theme. The other planters I fill up with smaller flower props that I scale up a bit, so I won't have to use 20 to fill one planter. I'm sorry for the wonky camera movements every now and then. I zoom in pretty close so I can place everything more precise. But then I have to zoom out again to get a good overview. And moving the camera with the keyboard sometimes goes in quite large steps. And to be fair, when I play the game, I don't always think about how the footage will look after it's been sped up 4 times. After the orange and blue flowers, now some white ones, all for some color variation. I finished them with some young trees. Thanks to the tree snapping mod, I can raise them a bit, so they don't look like bushes. After I copied a few planters to mark out the terrace area, I placed some tables and chairs. Nothing spectacular. Because of the direction of the wind, the planes that fly to Schiphol airport for some reason fly straight over my head. So I hope you don't hear them all the time, as I do. Otherwise, I'm truly sorry, but I need to record this commentary, so you'll have to deal with it, I guess. I need a big planter for a big tree, but not this big. I only want to use the central square, so I lower the prop until the rest disappears. Then the big tree. And around the trunk some grass. The rest of the planter I fill with small flower patches that I have to raise so you can actually see them, and tiny orange bushes to fill in the gaps along the edge. Now I copy the planters and then the tables and chairs to make the terrace a bit larger, and then finish all with some more planters.
It's the return of the funky man.
Next to the entrance here I place some benches that function as park people generators, so I can get some Sims to actually sit down here. Their footprint is 1 square, but the bench is quite a bit smaller, so when you place a few next to each other, it's difficult to select the right one. And because you can't see the benches when you place them, it's practically impossible to place them perfectly in one go. So a little tip: place them a bit apart from each other before moving them to the correct place. Now some vanilla pots in between the benches that actually don't look too bad. And then some awnings on either side. When you want to move a procedural object, it's best to first copy it So when you move it, you can hold the H button and the object will stay on the height it was on. Also, when you want a procedural object to be on the same height as another, copy the latter, then move the first one while holding the H button, and it will be on that height. Or even when you place a new procedural object, holding H will keep it on the height of the last object you copied. Such a fantastic feature. I pretty much filled in all the blocks that I created so far, so it's time for an extension of the road layout. First, I figure out where I want the canal that will surround the oldest part of the city. I place these houses to see where I can place the road next to them. The square in front of the Waag I built in the previous episode and the area behind it used to be the continuation of the canal, but it was gedempt or filled up. In most Dutch canal cities you'll find these filled up canals. They usually still have the old layout with roads on both sides. Therefore I measured them out with a different type of road before continuing with the layout. I don't like these sharp corners, so let's change them. And that's it for now. We'll continue expanding when this area is all filled out. But now over to the old bridge, where this ugly side of the road still sticks out of the canal walls. We have to cover that up. So let's build a small extension where boats can moor. I place some barks, so I can determine the height of the wooden pier. Then I will copy the canal walls to be just above the pier, to create a lower extension where people can get on and off their boat. In the meantime, let's talk about something else. How about music? As some of you may know, all the music you hear in the background I actually created myself. It's one of my other hobbies. And it's nice to have music without any copyright issues. Lately, I've been making some hip-hop inspired tunes, as I heard a lot of people use that kind of music in the background of their videos, and I kinda liked it. But I also enjoy making house, or dubstep, or drum and bass, or even hardstyle. Maybe you would like to hear some other genres as well. So do tell me what you think in the comments. But I won't be making jazz. Unless maybe if it's in the style of Saint-Germain. But that would mean that I have to sample some jazz tunes, as I can only play the piano. And that can cause copyright issues. Oh, and if you don't know what I'm talking about, there's a link in the description. Back to the build now. I'm creating a slightly rounded shape to end the extension, and then use a different type of pavement, just for variation. Editing the dimensions of a square makes the texture a bit wonky, but turning the square into a triangle actually helps a bit. Then we need some stairs. I use these stone stairs by Armesto, and of course turn them into a procedural object to edit them slightly to make them fit. After they are done, we can work on covering up the ugly bit of roadside. I create a little planter out of the canal walls. It's a bit of a struggle to get all the pieces shaped the way I want them to, but the end result doesn't look too bad, I think. I use some ploppable gravel to get a soil base so I can plant some bushes and a few flowers. I want to surround the extension with wooden piers, but they are a bit too long, so procedural objects it is. With these buildings from the citadel of Lulpak, I'm building a hofje or provenhuis. It was a place that provided homes for the less wealthy elder men or women, where they could spend the last years of their lives. Hofjes were founded by wealthy citizens and they gave a lot of prestige. They were called hofje because most of them consisted of rows of houses around a central courtyard or garden, which was called the hof. You can find these hofjes in many old Dutch cities, like Amsterdam or Leiden, but also in the Noord. In Alkmaar, one of the cities I take some inspiration from for this city, the hofjes were called provenhuis. The word proven means good gifts, referring to the regular distribution of money, bread, peat and firewood that happened at the hofjes. And huis means house, of course. Another thing that was very specific for the hofjes in Alkmaar was that they housed people of different religious beliefs. Reformed, Protestant, Catholic, they all lived together. But of course, one hofje would be for men or women only. These hofjes were founded as early as the 15th century up until the mid-18th century. And some of them still have their traditional function. After I fenced off the entrance of the inner yard and placed a path there, I first finished the rest of the block with houses. You'll only see me place these 2 houses, the rest has been done off camera. What I do show you is placing some back houses. You'll find a lot of these in Dutch cities. As people had to fund the building of their house themselves and after that had to pay taxes for the width of the facade, it was pretty common that people built a quite small house because they simply couldn't afford a larger house. Also, the inner area was used to grow some vegetables. Later owners would often build an extension in the back, as they could easily afford the taxes due to the narrow facade. And the need to grow their own food became less, due to increased prosperity because of the East India Company and such. Then I decided the hofje could use a little garden in the back. I placed a nice footpath from the Parklife DLC, a hedge out of little bushes, and then a lot of other bushes, flowers and trees. Then back to the inner yard. First some pavement. Again using a different one from the main road pavement to set it apart. Because of the dimensions of the yard, I need some cubes at the end, as they don't mess up the texture when you change the shape. On the edges, I place some curbs. Always the best way to hide a change in pavement texture, or in this case, between pavement and grass. In the middle I place one large tree, because I like a good old large tree here and there. And up until now we only had the one at the Doelen, in the beginning of this episode. I surround the tree with flowers, because it must be a nice yard to sit in. The sitting will be done on benches in this case. I place a few between the doors. Then some trash cans and finally some beautiful old style lanterns above the doors. The texture above these doors has a dark shade that looked like the perfect place to place a lantern. And with that, this episode comes to a close. I hope you have enjoyed it and that maybe I have shown you a few tips and tricks to improve your building skills or inspire you in any way. If you have any questions or suggestions, do leave them in the comment section. And if you like this video, please give it a nice thumbs up. Hope to see you next time. Bye bye.